I never learned about what money is before I read the Bitcoin Standard. I didn't understand what money was. And it sounds kind of crazy because I spent 20 years in school, then I went to university, then I spent another 3 years doing the CFA, and I didn't learn anything about how money works up until I completed the CFA in 2019. And until 2019, I had no idea what money was. It was, I don't know if you've heard that analogy where people say fish don't know what water is because they live in it. It's always, they're always surrounded by it. It's the same thing with money. We have no idea what money is. We just assume that it's going to be used for us to exchange for goods and services. People see that prices are going up. They think that the price of things are going up because of, like I said, corporate greed. They don't quite understand that the base layer, like you said, there's the economic layer, and then below that there's the monetary layer. That monetary layer is built on dog shit. That's literally it.
I was gonna say sand, but I like that better.
It's built on nothing. It's built on nothing. Like, it's literally built on nothing, and it can break at any point. It can completely collapse at any point. If in the current financial system, if too many people can't pay off their debts, if they don't have enough cash flow to pay off their debts, then the entire system collapses. Even in the CFA, we had just assumed that the US dollar is going to be there forever. We hadn't even thought about, if you look at the curriculum, if you look at the content, we, up until 2019 at least, I don't know what happened after that, but there was no thought of the US dollar being replaced. And that's how the majority of people think. That's how the majority of people around me used to think. People saw yield, they saw bonds, they saw rental income, they saw dividends, and that was it. They didn't really think about what those dividends are. How are those dividends being created? How is that yield being generated? Where is that yield coming from? We didn't really think about how interest is like, let's say you put your money in a bank account, you just assume, oh, the bank is going to give me 4% interest. How is the bank making that money? People don't even think of it that way. And I think that was partly what made me take so long to really understand what Bitcoin is. And I think this is what's going to happen with a lot of Wall Street as well. Because you're surrounded by all of this garbage, it's going to take you a long time to understand what Bitcoin is, because Bitcoin is the purest form of money. It's going to take a while to actually get over all of those random beliefs that you have, the things that you understand, that you think about. But once you actually get to that point, once you cross that, I guess, that chasm, those Wall Street investors are probably going to be the most bullish Bitcoiners in the world, and they're never going to want to get rid of it. Like, for example, for me, it took me 3 years. People think, "Oh, what's wrong with this guy? He must be stupid. Why did it take him 3 years to understand this thing when it took me 6 months?" It was because I had all these beliefs. It's because I understood that the financial system worked the way it does. I I had already built my life around buying stocks. I had already understood that stocks are where you should put your money. You should always buy investments. You should always put your money into businesses, because that's the way to generate more cash flow. But I hadn't really looked at what that cash flow is. And I think a lot of Wall Street, I'm in Canada, so I guess we call it Bay Street in our area. A lot of Bay Street doesn't quite understand it yet. And I think because Bitcoin has passed that $100,000 level, they're starting to see it. They're starting to do the dive. But I don't think they're going to get it for another 3, 4, 5 years. I think it's going to take them a lot of time, because they don't quite understand that the base layer of everything is corrupted. They don't understand that the base layer of everything is just completely broken. I know for a fact that a lot of CFAs have no idea what money is. If you're a CFA watching this video, I'm calling you out on this. You probably don't know what money is. You probably have no idea. You probably haven't put in the time. Unless maybe you've been watching Brandon's content for a while, you probably have no idea what money is. You probably have no idea where money comes from. You probably have no idea that it's printed out of nothing. I personally didn't. I hadn't even thought of it from that perspective. I knew that it was being printed. I knew about monetary policy, economic policy, all that stuff, but I hadn't thought of it from first principles. And thinking of it from first principles is what really changes things.
That is so well said. It's funny because I've thought of first principles a few times, and I was forgetting to say it in a way. And throughout this pod here, and you just saying that just kind of sums a lot of it up beautifully. It really is first principles, and it goes back to like the altcoin stuff. It goes back to all these things. When you're not coming from, I was telling my kids the other day, one of them told like a little lie, or like a white lie. I can't remember exactly what it even was now. It was maybe a few months ago. And I just told him that it was like, every time you tell a little lie, like, again, it just gets easier to tell the next one. Right. And it's like an analogy for life in a way, right? Where like the further you get away from truth, the harder it is. Like the more BS layers you have to get back through to get to the truth. And like, you just made me think of that too, with like you already had a lot of these thoughts in your head. Like there's a lot of people that don't work in the financial, like maybe they're a nurse, like we were saying, or something else. They don't think about any of it. So maybe some of those people might get to Bitcoin quicker in a way because it's a humility test, not IQ. When you have all these stories and these things, hey, I'm in the financial world and I've got all these stories built up already. You have to go back through all this just to get to the truth again. So really fascinating. It's like, that's what's amazing about Bitcoin. There's like a trillion, there's unlimited analogies and things you can think of. It just opens up this new world too. By the way, do you see, there's this guy the other day, I don't remember who it is, and that's why I hesitate to bring it out because I don't have like a ton of information on, but someone was just saying this. It was like an old central bank guy, and he just said something like, you know, if Bitcoin wins, like Bitcoin's going to zero, is like Uma or somebody, I forget what his name was, his old guy, and he's like, Bitcoin's going to zero in the next 5 or 10 years, and he's like, but if Bitcoin does win, then basically we have to rethink all of money. Like we'll have to rethink all of our study. Did you see that?
I did.
Like,
I don't know if it was a video or I think I saw the tweet.
Yeah, it was like a tweet or something, or caption.
But that scares people, right? Because it just completely changes their beliefs of how the world works. People have this view of how the world should work, and they expect that it'll continue to work that way. They think, your savings should generate cash flow. But the reason why they expect that is because your savings are decreasing in value otherwise. If, let's say, for example, if you own real estate, your real estate has to generate cash flow because otherwise you won't be able to afford it. You have these ongoing costs, these maintenance costs. You have to pay for repairs. You have to pay for lawyers. You have to pay for realtors. So you have to generate cash flow with real estate. You have to generate cash flow with stocks because what else is a business there for? But people don't look at what that cash flow is. If you can just hold on to that cash flow, if you can just hold on to that money, if you can just hold on to the cash instead of having to invest in stocks, think about how much better the world will be. I think what it'll do is it'll give more people the opportunity to start businesses and to compete with the people who have these multinational mega corporations. And people haven't really thought of it that way. So
no, because you're right. I mean, like you think of all these companies, like a Fold, for example, who they have, just announced a couple months ago, there are 1,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. It's already what, $100 million. I mean, they're going to be $1 billion company in the next, in short order, in essence. And they're going to be competing now against the likes of any other financial company or whatever it is. So that kind of stuff's going to continue going forward, and it's going to you're not going to be able to keep up with it if you're just on this fiat standard. Obviously, you're Bitcoiners. And I love that you said that too about yield, like yield, cash flow, dividends, the earnings, all this stuff is, again, like until you see Bitcoin, you don't get it. Cause again, I was that guy. I was real estate guy. I was like, cash flow. And you just realize you're on the Titanic and you're going down, and your Bitcoin helps you realize real estate might be one of the best things possibly on the fiat Titanic, but you're still going down. You're still gonna be at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. You might go in the water last, but you still aren't on the lifeboat because the whole thing's going down. And it's yield, cash flow, like you said, they're there to justify what keeping you in the fiat system. It's like this justification of like, well, my money is losing value, so these things are justifying why I'm in here. So it's really interesting. I would love for you to unpack some of this a little more, but also Bitcoin making people, so you alluded to this earlier, and I think this is something that it's not a conscious thing. I think it's a subconscious thing. This goes back to this humility thing of Bitcoin making people obsolete. And you would touch on this. I saw you on an interview. I don't know whose interview it was maybe Safety's or something like that, where you had talked about this. Like I think you said something like, like what I was doing was like pretty much no point to it. Like Bitcoin makes my job obsolete in a sense. And I've been thinking about this for years. And I think that inside most humans, that's why this humility thing comes in, because most people are scared. Just inside something in there, they just don't know what it is. And they're like, I think I might become moot at some point. Like what I'm doing isn't needed. So I'd love for you to unpack this some more, because I think it's a brilliant thought that just, again, doesn't get a lot of play. If you want the answer to that question right there, and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. Do it.